Norwegians were close to pure Aryan. Did you get all that? The blonde-haired, blue-eyed Norwegian. Worden står det till I dag. Ja, sure you betcha. Oof, da hey fella. He thought the Germans were mostly Aryan. The Mediterraneans are slightly Aryan. The Slavics are half Aryan, half ape. Orientals are slightly ape. Black Africans are mostly ape. And Jews are close to pure ape. Hitler killed the Jews to speed up the evolution process. Let's eliminate the inferiors. Anybody know where the Olympics were held in 1936? Berlin. Anybody know who won the most gold medals? Jesse Owens, the black American athlete. Hitler was so angry, he said, it's not fair to make my men race against this animal. Hitler said, I regard Christianity as the most fatal, seductive lie that ever existed. Well, that's because he thought biological evolution would weed out the religion and be a weapon against religion, because the Bible teaches all nations are of one blood. And if you think you are superior to somebody because of the color of your skin, number one, you're wrong. Number two, you're stupid. Okay, number three, you're not right with God. Okay, we cover more on the races, and there's no such thing as races. It's just skin colors on video number 7. I stood in the courtroom in Nuremberg where they held the trial years ago. Those guys on trial said, we did nothing illegal. We were just obeying orders. Yeah, and they were found guilty anyway, weren't they? Because, see, there's a higher law than Germany's law. It's called God's law. Now, the Supreme Court in America in 1973 said the word person does not include the unborn. That's the decision that opened the way now for 45 million babies to be killed in America. 1,000 million, that's a billion worldwide. On September 11th, 2001, 3,000 Americans were killed by terrorists. We spent billions of dollars trying to hunt them down and kill them, right? You know what else happened September 11th, 2001? 4,500 Americans were killed by abortionists. 50% more. And nobody said a word. The next day it happened again. We've had a September 11th tragedy every day ever since. Have we gone nuts? Margaret Sanger started a group called Planned Parenthood to eliminate the inferior species. She wanted to wipe out the blacks, the Jews, and the Orientals. She thought they were human weeds. We could spend all day on Margaret Sanger, but they thought that, just like Hitler said the Jews are a parasite in the body of nations, Margaret Sanger said the unborn child is a parasite in the woman's body. No, it's a child, okay? It's a baby. We could spend all day on Margaret Sanger. We don't have to take time for that now, but this is a Planned Parenthood document from 1952. They said, your question's answered about birth control. What is birth control? Is it an abortion? They said, oh, definitely not. An abortion requires an operation. It kills the life of a baby after it has begun. Well, you bunch of hypocrites at Planned Parenthood. Now they're the biggest funder of abortions in the country. These 6 things doth the Lord hate. Hands that shed innocent blood. God hates this. Cursed be he that taketh reward to slay an innocent person. And all the people shall say, Amen. Amen. Your textbooks are going to tell you, kids, that you have an appendix that is vestigial. You don't need it anymore. That's a lie. You need your appendix. The appendix is part of your immune system. Here's an article on the web from University of Chicago. Ask a scientist. Nancy writes in and says, what is the function of the appendix in a human before it is taken out through surgery? This lady writes back and says, the appendix has no known function. She's way behind the times on that one. She goes on to say, it is believed that the appendix will gradually disappear in human beings as our diet do not include cellulose no more. Our diet do not include cellulose no more. University of Chicago. Wow. Good place to get an education. Not in English, apparently. But in the first place, this is not true, okay? The appendix is part of your immune system. You need your appendix. The appendix activates killer B cells like your thyroid activates killer T cells. It's true you can live without your appendix. That's true. You can live without both your legs and both your arms and both your eyes and both your ears also. Doesn't prove you don't need them. If you take your appendix out, you got a much better chance of getting all sorts of diseases. This textbook says the whale has a vestigial pelvis. Many organisms retain traces of their evolutionary history. For example, the whale retains pelvic and leg bones as useless vestiges. National Center for Science Education teaches, Bossy the cow evolved to blowho the whale. The cow evolved to the whale. And the evidence is the pelvis. Whales have a vestigial pelvis and leg bone that serve no purpose. They have hind limb bones that have no function. Just imagine whales walking around. It's true. Well, here's the bones they're talking about right there. Just imagine the whale walking around. I have tried and tried to imagine, and I just can't do it. Almost every type of whale has these bones right there in the abdomen. They are not attached to the spine. That's correct. Textbook says the whale's pelvis is located far from the vertebra and has no apparent function. The whale's pelvis is evidence of its evolution from four-legged, land-dwelling mammals. This is a lie. Those little bones are anchor points that special muscles attach to that allow the whales to reproduce. Whales are kind of big, you know. And without those special muscles and those special bones, they can't get more baby whales. So either these guys are ignorant about their whale anatomy or they're lying to your kids trying to spread their theory. But it's not true that those are vestigial, okay? There are no vestigial organs, and if there were, think about it, that would be the opposite of evolution. That's losing, not gaining. How's that going to help? You lose everything until you have it all? We could spend 2 days on whale evolution. Every one of them, Ambulocetus and Pakicetus, have all been proven baloney. They can't be intermediate species, okay? The authors were certain the feet were enormous, even though nothing was found. Basilosaurus could not possibly have been ancestral to any of the modern whales. Pakicetus was made from one small piece of jaw, a small piece of skull, a small piece of jaw, and a few teeth. You find a little bit of jaw, a little bit of skull, a couple of teeth, and you know that it's half whale, half something on land? That's kind of a stretch, don't you think? We'll cover more on that later, but there's all kinds of stuff on our website about this. I've got in my museum a 15.5-foot python snake skin. If you look at the south end of that snake skin, it's got a couple claws attached to a little 2-inch bone going up inside the snake's body. We've got them in our museum, okay? Textbook says, see, boys and girls, this is a vestigial structure. The boa and the python have these little tiny claws. Do whales or snakes have back legs? You can see that they don't. Yet, both animals have vestigial hip bones and leg bones where legs may once have existed. This is a lie. This textbook says they have reduced hind legs, rudimentary hind legs of a python snake. You've got to be kidding. Those little claws are used in mating, okay? The snake doesn't have any arms, and he can't talk and say, scoot over, honey, okay? This has nothing whatsoever to do with walking on land. It has to do with getting baby snakes. So once again, somebody's real dumb about their snake anatomy, or they're lying to your kids trying to spread their theory. This textbook shows the coccyx, the human tailbone, and Discover magazine, and it says, that's all that's left of the tail that most mammals still use. Humans have a tailbone that is of no apparent use. I was in a debate in Huntsville, Alabama, against the president of the North Alabama Atheist Association. He got up in front of God and everybody and said, folks, I've got proof for evolution. Humans have a tailbone they no longer need. I said, Mr. Patterson, I taught biology and anatomy. I happen to know there are 9 little muscles that attach to the tailbone, without which you cannot perform some valuable functions. I won't tell you what they all are, but trust me, you need those muscles. I said, now, if you think the tailbone is vestigial, I, Kent Hovind, will pay to have yours removed. Bend over. Critical thinking, this book says, 2005 edition. At the end of your backbone is a coccyx, a few small bones